Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 182 of Gridiron Grinder. And for tonight, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to hit the news from this past week. After that, we're going to provide a fairly in-depth recap of free agency to date, only a few days in, and shit has gone crazy. And then last but not least, we'll close it off with our question of the week. And so, yeah, with all that being said, how's it going tonight there, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Good, man, good. A lot to keep up with right now, but, we're going to do our best. And next week, I think we'll have probably some more time to kind of digest it since sort of like the cluster or flurry of moves, if you will, is kind of out of the way. A lot of the guys off that top 100 list are already signed for or already kind of have an idea where they're going. Next week won't be as flashy, and it'll give us probably a better idea where all these teams are heading. But I think tonight, we'll give everybody the down and dirty and see where it goes, man.
Sounds good to me.
All right, well, hey, bud, whenever you're ready, do some name that stadium for us.
All right, as you can see, I'm traveling around different stadiums, host NFL games, first person. Which fucking play? Just somebody fucking play. That guesses it right. Get an extra special shout out. We'll bookmark it. You can show your one friend how smart you
Your
are.
one friend.
Um, Last week I was in Chicago last week, and I just a lot of the news I was reading going into last week's show was how what Chicago's going to do, trade Justin Fields versus trade the number one pick. And I had found like a bunch of articles saying they were looking to trade the number one pick. And then now today it's going back the other way where they're
Yeah.
nearing a deal to trade Fields. Or somebody else was saying, I think you were saying earlier that like the betting odds are that they'll have both Fields and Williams on the roster day one.
Yeah, the crazy thing is when you look at what they're doing in free agency, which we'll get to in a minute, and you look at kind of where they finished last year and how good their defensive got after they made that trade for Montez Sweat, uh,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like they're building to win now. And so they need a quarterback now.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any doubt about Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever it is, they could just be hedging their bet and keep both the guys because they think they can get into the playoffs and make a run now. I don't know if it's that definitive, but we'll talk more about what they're doing in a little bit, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not as up on Chicago
Yeah,
because I shit like I've barely been able to keep track of what Detroit's done.
yeah. Well, Detroit's
Which
had a little quieter of a
not
free
really.
agency so far.
You're missing some stuff in here.
Uh-oh. Okay. Okay.
You missed one, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'll leave it at that, and we'll talk about it when we
All
get
right.
to
All
Detroit.
right. Yeah, let me know. Yeah, and I mean, hey, I told you I went off of the NFL.com article, which, hey, in years past, they've disappointed me. I don't know why I went back to that well, man. It's one of those things. And even today, while I was going through it, I'll just tell you real quick. Some of the times they'll say that they signed a guy when it was either an extension or
Hmm.
a re-signing. And then some of the times they'll clarify that it was an extension or a re-signing. And it's like, can't you just be consistent so we know, was this guy there last year or not, man? And it just it drives me nuts. But it looked like they got better with that this year, but apparently they missed at least a handful of names. And so some of that I'm sure is just the timing of the publication and whatever else, but either way, that's why there's the two of us doing this. You'll catch what I miss and vice versa, hopefully. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw this one. This one caught my eye. Uh, I'm sure there's others, but that's just kind of how it goes with
Oh
trying to
yeah,
keep
there's
track
there
of it. Like
people are moving
shit
and shaking
happens.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let's do our recap of the past week here, James. And I don't have a whole lot to get into because obviously this past week, most of the news is related to free agency, whether it's guys getting released or guys getting traded or guys getting signed. I figure
Hmm.
all that will kind of bundle up into one in a little bit. But I am going to cover a couple of the news related things that are either not that or maybe like a little bit farther adjacent to that. And the first one is T. Higgins, the wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's asking the team for a trade, James. And
Hmm.
so, as you know, he was franchise tagged, but apparently, in his opinion, or from his camp's opinion, there have not been any serious extension talks to date, and so he wants out. And it sounds like the team is prioritizing Jamar Chase over him, which they probably should be doing, right? But they have a
Hmm.
timing issue because Higgins is up right now. And so they got to figure out how they can do this where they can keep them both happy. Otherwise, they just lost Tyler Boyd. Joe Burrow, you don't want him to be down two out of his three weapons. And so interesting to see how this one plays out, man. But I've seen a lot of rumor mill stuff about teams trying to trade for him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I just saw an article and something I completely missed, and I was like, what the fuck? T. Higgins, like everything I was reading about T. Higgins was like he was open to the franchise tag. He saw it as a possibility for a long-term deal, this and that. So it kind of surprises me that he's now asking for a trade.
Well, I think
I don't know
he,
what the fuck
I,
happened.
I think he was expecting talks for a long-term deal were going to start right when he got tagged, and apparently the team was like, "No, we're going to get to it when we get to it," and that pissed him
Hmm.
off.
Ah, I missed that. Like I said, I'm trying to keep track of all the moves. I just came across this article from earlier today that I missed that shocked the fuck out of me
Okay,
about
okay.
the Chargers released Mike Williams.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, I'm glad you said that because when I did my notes, I didn't have that in here, so that's a good one to catch. Dude, there's a lot going on with the Chargers. They're talking about
Hmm.
Khalil Mack could be next. Joey Bosa could even be cut.
No,
Basically,
Khalil Mack's not going to be next because Khalil Mack restructured his contract to stay with the team next year.
oh, all right. Well, then he's locked in, I guess. Maybe Bosa could be on the fringe, or maybe the Mike Williams cut saves Bosa, but they've been in salary cap hell a little bit, and so interesting Jim Harbaugh going to that team, having to sort out those problems early on.
Yeah, and yeah, apparently it saves them 20 million, and they have a dead cap hit of 12.5, and that got them under the salary cap, or salary cap compliant, shall we say, because he had to be compliant about 4 hours ago.
Gotcha. Okay.
At 4 p.m. Eastern time, you had to be at or under the
Yeah. With
$255.4 million
your
cap.
with your top 53 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then in other news, Hunter Renfrow, another wide receiver from Vegas, he is expected to be released when the new league year begins. This is a guy, he was a fairly solid kind of like blue collar slot wide receiver earlier in his career. The production kind of faded off in recent seasons. I don't know.
So to
Maybe
correct you, he was released today.
Oh, he was released today. Okay. See, I thought
Yeah.
the article I saw was from today, so I was like, okay, it's coming. But
So the league year started at 4 p.m. Eastern time.
oh yeah, so he's been released for 4.5 hours. Thank you, James.
Yeah. And
Assuming
Vegas
that they put in the paperwork right away.
Vegas released him and Garoppolo.
Okay, yeah, and I mean Garoppolo, we kind of knew was coming, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, with Renfro, maybe a change of scenery will do him some good. I mean, hey, he's still fairly young in his career, so anything could happen. But he was a pretty good slot guy. Those guys usually can find a home somewhere.
Yeah, and with Renfro, like he had like the maybe one good year with Carr there, but like he kind of tailed off after that and didn't continue to progress.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe New Orleans will be his next home. All right, and then we got Teron Armstead in Miami. The left tackle has decided to continue playing, James. I didn't even realize this guy was thinking about retiring, but he reworked his contract. He's got a more team-friendly deal, and he's coming back for another season, which I think is good for them. They lost a couple offensive linemen to free agency. You definitely don't want to lose your left tackle, especially as they're potentially getting ready to extend Tua and dish out a ton of money to him. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then compensatory picks have been awarded, and the league this year has given out 34 compensatory picks, 14 different teams. 5 of them are third round picks, which is notable because, I mean, third round picks are pretty premium. And then the Rams and the 49ers tied for the most picks with 5 each. And I did see something, man, I should have, see, I was going too fast. In my haste, I didn't catch it all, but I did see that there were special picks related to like the league's affirmative action policies. And so something about, a couple teams got picks not because of players leaving, but because of hiring minority coaches.
So it's not hiring minority coaches. A couple years ago, the NFL enacted a third round compensatory pick for having a minority head coach or executive, or not head coach, minority coach or executive hired away from the team for a promotion to another team.
Okay.
If I remember it correctly.
So it's kind of like losing a player, but in this case, you're losing a coach, but it only applies if it's a minority coach.
Yeah.
And a third round pick it's premium.
Exactly. So it was an incentive to develop minority coaches. Let me see. I'm trying to find it real quick.
Sure. No, and that makes sense. And while you're looking it up, the last thing I had, I'll just hit it real quick, is Deebo Samuel apparently is changing his number to number 1, James. So I don't know how significant that is, but I had very light news this week since almost all of it is free agency related.
All right. So since 21, the league has its 2020 resolution JC2A, where it rewards teams for developing minority candidates for head coach and/or general manager positions. The resolution rewards teams whose minority candidates are hired away for one of those positions by awarding draft picks. These draft picks are at the end of the third round after standard compensatory picks. If multiple teams qualify, they are awarded by draft order in the first round. And so Los Angeles received a third round comp pick. Okay, so for Raheem Morris leaving.
Okay.
And San Francisco received one for Ron Carthon leaving from Director of Player Personnel, becoming General Manager of Tennessee.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Los Angeles received a third round this year and a 2025 third round compensatory pick for Raheem Morris.
No way, dude. That's too much in my opinion. I mean, a third round pick is a lot, period. And you know me, I'm not a big fan of the compensatory picks. So, teams like Baltimore historically have been able to kind of manipulate the system and capitalize on that.
So looking at it, San Francisco received, so for Ron Carthen, apparently he was hired last year before last year's draft. Oh, hold on a second. So he's been, yeah, so you received 2 years. No.
2 years of picks? That's not right,
So
man.
this is the note. San Francisco received a third round selection and a 2023 third round selection. Which how could you? That's this is confusing me.
I mean, it's steep incentive to have minority coaches if that's the case, where you could get two third-round picks, right?
Yeah, it. Let's see. Okay, so he was hired in February 2023 to be the Titans general manager, and so you received two.
Wow, man. It's too much in my opinion, but
Yeah, because the it says Los Angeles. It doesn't say which. This article is fucking ridiculous
yeah.
because it just says Los Angeles. I believe Raheem Morris
He was
was
with the
with
Rams, man. He
the
was their defensive
Rams.
coordinator last year.
Yes. I just wanted
Yeah, now
to
he's the
just.
Falcons head coach.
Okay, so it says it later. So they received a 2024 third round and a 2025 third round for,
Yeah,
yeah, Atlanta hiring.
and I don't want to, dude, I don't want to nitpick this because I think that developing any coach, whether they're a minority or not, is a good thing to do. You know, if you're a good leader, you're going to develop your team. But I guess here's where I get a little bit miffed about this is that Raheem Morris was a head coach before. So because he dropped down and now he's getting promoted back up.
Yeah. So so two draft picks are awarded if a team has one qualified candidate hired away for either head coach or general manager. Three draft picks if two qualified candidates.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just I guess there needs to be something in there for the Raheem Morris case because if the
Yeah.
guy was previously a head coach, takes a demotion, and then gets promoted to head coach again, hey, fine. If you want to do a comp pick, okay, but make it like a fifth or a sixth or a seventh rounder or something. Don't have them all be third rounders, man, because
Hmm.
you can argue the development wasn't the same for a guy like him as it would be for somebody else.
Right. So, and this is apparently at least the second time that the Rams have received compensatory picks
Okay.
because they received two 2021 and 2022 when the Lions
Was that for Brad Holmes?
for Brad Holmes.
And I mean, hey, it's all fine, but there needs to be some like, you know, there needs to be some scale to it, you know,
Hmm.
depending on like how extreme the promotion is and what the guy's history was. Otherwise, you know, I don't know. I think it's apples and oranges, Raheem Morris and other things. You know, it's not like Brad Holmes was a GM before. Brad Holmes has only been going up, and that's the development you want. Um, I don't know. And I mean, hey, it's still good. It's still good. Still do something. I'm just saying it should be variable based on more variables.
No, it should be like there should be a little bit more to it, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah,
Can't
it's
change
okay.
it.
And I don't mean to nitpick it because it's a good thing. It's a good thing, right? You know, so it's fine. But all right, that's all I had on the news, man. I'm looking at
I
you in case you
was,
had anything, or
I
we'll
know,
just
I see you looking at me in the corner. I was just glancing, signing, release, signing. I thought there was something else, but trade, which will kind of hit.
yeah, you just make mental notes of those in case my spreadsheet missed some of them.
Yeah, that's about all I'm seeing.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the
Oh,
yeah.
there. I don't want to hit on a sad note, but the NFL is looking at changing the cold weather game rules after I think it was 3 fans had ended up
Oh
having
man, I'm
amp-
glad you brought that up. I saw that. Had like body
amputation.
parts amputated.
Yeah, had to have amputations from what was it?
Kansas
The
City?
Kansas City. I forget which
Was
game
that
it
the
was.
Miami game?
I think it was Kansas City, Miami. But I mean, I'd seen the news, and it was before last week's on it. Um, that, but like, I wanted to look into it a little bit more, and it appears that like it was definitively linked to being in the cold weather. And I forgot to note what game it was.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, man. I went to a Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, a Cleveland Browns game against the Pittsburgh Steelers a few years ago, and it was like sometime in late November or whenever, and it was freezing balls off, dude.
Hmm.
I had thermal underwear on, uh, pants, jacket, hat, gloves, feet warmers, hand warmers, and still by the fourth quarter, dude, you could not stay warm. It was like you had to be a diehard fan, and even then, I could see how physically you just can't like maintain through it at some point, right?
Yeah.
But
So
I
yeah,
do like that though. I do like the uniqueness of that in football is that you could play in the snow and the in the rain and all the elements and so I would
yes,
hate to see it like lose that, but I can also see that you got to have fan safety, right? Player and fan safety.
yeah. So the Dolphins Chief, it was the Dolphins Chiefs game where game the temperature at game time was -4 degrees Fahrenheit and wind gusts for a wind chill of -27 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
And it was the coldest game ever at Arrowhead Stadium, which the previous one was -1 at kickoff.
yeah, yeah. And I think that was the one where Mahomes' helmet broke
Yeah,
because he hit someone and it was so cold it just like shattered the top of the helmet off.
yeah. So they were treated for frostbite after the game. Um, and so the hospital said more surgeries are expected. So there's a long cold snap. A lot of people treated with frostbite. Some of the people were at the game and ended up having amputations.
Gotcha.
So, not to end the news on a sad, somber note, because I feel bad for those people that just go to watch the teams they love, a team or team, whichever team they love and they enjoy watching, and it gets super cold. We now only have one of the Watt brothers left in the NFL
Okay.
because there were three of them: TJ, JJ, and Derek.
Yeah.
And Derek was the fullback
Yep.
for I believe Pittsburgh, but he is officially retired. So it's just TJ Watt left in the NFL.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Quite a bloodline. Quite a bloodline.
Yeah, exactly. And and see, I always used to make fun of him because he's the only one that doesn't go by like
Initials.
initials. But his parents didn't. His parents, the Watt parents, did misspelled Derek. Is there not a Wikipedia page on him? All right. So JJ is Justin James. Let me see. Derek. Derek is Derek John, and TJ is Trent Jordan. So his parents did give all of
All
them the
J's
middle
in the
initial
middle.
of J. So you could have JJ, TJ, and DJ. But Derek said, fuck that. I'm going by Derek.
Yeah. Well, he was a fullback, so he had to, right? So
Yeah. Exactly. Well, didn't like one of them start out as like a tight end?
I think it was Derek. Well, I know back in college, J.J. Watt was a tight end.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Okay.
of. J.J. Watt was a tight
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Sometimes those guys, like Derek, that play fullback also play a little bit of tight end, right? Because they gotta do something extra to make the team. But yeah, no,
But
J.J. back in the day was a tight end at
TJ
Central.
TJ started his collegiate career at tight end as well.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, with Wisconsin. Derek was apparently Derek was always a fullback,
Gotcha. Respect. Respect. My
and
brother. My fullback brother.
yeah, and JJ was um, tight end
Yeah.
at Central.
Yes. Fun times. Go Chips. Fire up Chips.
Yeah,
Okay. What else you got on in the news?
that was it. I just didn't want to end on the
Yeah,
other
the
one. So
sadness. Yeah. All right. Well, let's shift gears. Let's do our free agency recap. We'll just call this part one because we know next week's going to be another part of it. And so, James, for tonight, I thought we would go just alphabetical by team within division,
okay,
if that makes sense. And so I gave you a spreadsheet. It starts off with the AFC East and it goes from there. We've kind of historically done that these last few years, and so we'll kind of stick with that. I tried to sort the moves by the players' lineups ratings just to kind of show what's most significant compared to maybe what's not as significant. And so, starting off with the Buffalo Bills, these guys, they have, I would say, mostly focused on re signing or extending their existing players, right? And so, they
hmm
extended Deion Dawkins, they re signed Daquan Jones. They did add Nicholas Morrow at linebacker, but then from there they re-signed AJ Epinesa, Taylor Rapp, David Edwards, and then whoop-de-doo they signed Mitch Trubisky, and then they brought back Cam Lewis. And so, my
well,
opinion, it's
well, you
kind of
also have to look at their losses, and since you didn't put them,
thank you, yeah, because
they
there's a lot of
lost
losses, yeah.
the key departures. I'm not going to go much according to this CBS article. I didn't do much into it. I just happened to find it and noticed you didn't have it. So they lost Gabe Davis, Leonard Floyd, Jordan Poyer, Saron Neal, Deontay Hardy, wide receiver, Mitch Morris at center, and Naheem Hines,
Yeah, who
and
didn't play
Cam,
last year, but yep.
who didn't play last year, and Cam Lewis at a cornerback.
Which they re-signed Cam Lewis, so they brought him back. But
Okay,
um,
so my article didn't have them as re-signing him.
No, and that's good. I like this because I'm missing that piece of the puzzle. All right, and so I'll give you this piece, you give me that piece, and then we'll basically come to a consensus about what that means for the team. How about that?
That sounds good to me, and
And
I know what my thoughts on this is. They haven't
yeah,
done jack shit, and they're losing people. Taylor Rapp does not make up for fucking Jordan Poyer.
oh no way.
I I don't give a shit. Um, and linebacker Nicholas Morrow, maybe
He's a
maybe
77 overall, so it's not horrible, but he's not like earth-shattering for the team here.
I mean their offensive. I just think they're down. Like when you look at it,
Overall, for sure. Yeah.
like
Wide receiver, they're down. Safety, they're down. Defensive end, they're down. Uh, you know, I agree with you. I think that honestly, for a team that has salary cap issues, they're not doing bad, but they're not getting better, and that's the
Mhm.
problem. They're getting farther away from a Super Bowl, not closer to it, which means that they're relying on the existing guys to organically get better and carry them because they've. It's kind of like their cap mishaps have now put them behind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the other thing with, and I think I said it, was it 3 years ago when they were up with 13 seconds left in the game, ended up losing to Kansas City. I think I think I said it. I don't know if I said it to you, but I know I said it at the time that that was their chance. Like
Yeah, their window was closing.
like that's your window is wide open, and where you are salary cap wise, it's just going to close and close and close, and not like this year. This year, I don't know if they can keep pace with Miami. We'll look at what Miami's lost and gained in a minute, but it's the problem there is they have is with what the fuck's his name? Josh Allen.
Yeah.
With Josh Allen no longer being on the rookie contract, and they have higher salary cap
Diggs. They've
They
got a
have
lot of guys they're
Diggs.
paying, man.
Yeah, and it's just like once you start paying all these players, um, there's not much you can do. You have to get rid of them. And then
Yep.
they had to open up $37 million of cap space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to make it difficult for anybody, man. Even in a fake cap world.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ready for the Dolphins then?
I am my list is alphabetical, so I'll get to okay, I'm there.
All right. So for Miami, just running through the moves, they have done mostly free agent signings,
Mhm.
not as much re-signings, no trades. They brought in Jordan Poyer at safety. I like that move because I like Poyer, but I also like that they sniped him away from Buffalo, which is a division rival. That's kind of like a double bonus, right? Then they also brought in edge guy Shaq Barrett, linebackers Anthony Walker and Jordan Brooks, tight end Jonnu Smith. From there, it's not as impactful, but they brought in center Aaron Brewer, which is a need for them. Cornerback Nick Needham, also a need, but I don't know. He's not going to
He
fill
was
the Xavier Howard void,
no,
but
Nick Needham was a re-signing.
correct. Yeah, yeah. So almost all of these were free agent signings. Needham was a re-signing. Then Robert Jones at offensive line is a re-signing, and then you got defensive back Ciaran Neal. He was a free agent signing, and so yeah, I've got them all mixed together. I've got them top down from the highest to the lowest lineups rating,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I'm
And then,
mixing them up.
and so my list or this article does not have who'd you say
Xavier
Xavier
Howard,
Xavier Howard as a loss.
yeah, but he's gone.
Yeah. So they also lost guard Robert Hunt,
Yep,
tackle Christian Wilkins, safety
Connor Williams.
Brandon Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel at linebacker, Jerome Baker at linebacker, and Emmanuel Agba
Yeah,
at defensive end.
yeah, they lost a lot on the edge, basically. Um, and I think that they mitigated that a little bit, but it's you can tell that it's like they're doing the best they can considering that they had to make sacrifices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Miami is getting worse on defense to maintain what they can on offense.
I don't think so.
You like Poyer that much that,
I really
it
like
it
Poyer. I
offsets
know
Xavier Howard?
I think Poyer. I have Poyer rated slightly higher than Xavier Howard. Let me see if I can find the lineups ranking on him.
Sure.
But I think it's an improvement.
Yeah, so
I
Howard's an 85. And, he's a cornerback versus a safety. So they're playing, a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
that's true.
different positions. But they do still have Jalen Ramsey, I suppose. So that helps, right?
Yeah, so you threw me off my conversation up my point off saying Xavier Howard because I was going to go to an upgrade over Brandon Jones.
Gotcha, gotcha.
That's I just got thrown off. Linebackers downgrade. I think. I think
Shaq Barrett
you're right.
mitigates some of their losses, right?
Shaq Barrett mitigates some of that
But
defensive
he's
line
getting awfully long in the tooth.
loss.
And Van
Hmm.
Ginkel was like really highly rated for being an under the radar kind of guy.
Yeah, I think you're right again.
Well, it's not a competition, James. I just, just one man's opinion. I think they're down, but it's down by design, right? Because they need to keep their resources to win on offense.
Yeah, they do. Aaron Brewer, I think though that's a good signing for that offense. He's not. I mean, for the running game, his pass blocking is a little bit down, a little bit lower, but based on the stats I find, so I think that's an upgrade at center
Sure.
and will be good for them. But I think you're right. The defense was sketchy anyways last year, so
Yeah, they
it's
did. I'm glad you said that, right? Because they had sort of like a disjointed connection with Vic Fangio, defensive
mhm.
coordinator. And so they made a change there, and maybe these personnel changes will just gel better and they'll naturally be better because of it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so next up we got the New England Patriots, my man. And the
Yep.
Patriots, this is interesting. And so I'm going to give you my half of it, you give me the other half of it. But based on my half, it is like a ton of re signings. They
Hmm.
tagged Kyle Duggar. They re-signed offensive tackle Mike Onwenu, Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver, Hunter Henry at tight end, Anthony Jennings at edge, Josh Uche at edge, Jalen Reagor at wide receiver. And then, from there, I'm not going to hit too many of them, but they did bring in as free agents linebacker Sion Takitaki, running back Antonio Gibson, and quarterback Jacoby Brissett. So it's kind of, I guess give me who they're missing, and then I'll make my comments.
So they also signed Austin Hooper for their two tight end set that they like.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Yeah.
Um, they only had, according to my article, they only had four. Let's call it four key departures. They lost Mike Gesicki at
Yeah,
tight
and they
end.
weren't using him anyhow. Yeah.
They weren't using him anyhow, and Austin Hooper. I mean, that's an upgrade. Mac Wilson at linebacker. Anthony Jennings, it's probably a
They re-signed
wash.
Jennings, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, I went to the wrong line. Sion Takitaki is probably a wash there. They traded Mac Jones.
Oh, yeah. What's that hurting? They got Jacoby Brissett. Let's just call it an upgrade.
Yeah, let's call that an upgrade.
So yeah, I mean, here's my thing, James, is that obviously the draft is going to be a factor, and this next week of free agency is going to be a factor. But to me, quarterback aside, this is almost the same exact roster that Bill Belichick built. And I'm not saying it's bad because a lot of these guys actually have respectable ratings, right? It's just a matter of the quarterback change and possibly the coaching change and how these guys respond to the coaching being the difference maker. And so
Yeah,
I'm just really interested to see how they do this next year because they did not gut the roster when they made this head coaching change, which is something I would have thought they would have done to start a rebuild and like basically just put new fingerprints on it. Instead, it's going to be reeking of Bill Belichick just with a new
hmm,
coach.
pretty much.
Okay, enough said. That takes us to the New York Jets, my man. And so for the Jets, they had a trade. They brought in Morgan Moses at offensive tackle, respectable 83 rating. I like that. They re-signed their punter and their kicker. Whoop-de-doo. Important. Special teams is important. I don't want to drag them down. I'm just saying. And then they had a couple free agent signings: Isaiah Oliver at cornerback, John Simpson on the offensive line, and Tyrod Taylor to be their backup quarterback. Who'd they lose, my man?
The only person on this list, and this doesn't seem right because I thought Becton was a free agent that they lost. This has got to be an incomplete list because
Does it have Bryce Huff?
It only lists Bryce Huff.
Okay, so probably the only one that mattered because Becton was hurt a lot, and then he was underperforming and he had issues. Maybe they didn't have him on there, but here's the thing: they brought in Morgan Moses via trade. They signed John Simpson. To me, it's like a year late, but they're taking it seriously to finally protect Aaron Rodgers, right?
Well,
And
and
that's huge for this
key thing
team.
is last year when they signed Rodgers, the one thing I said was you have to bring in a real backup quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't really like Tyrod Taylor as a backup quarterback for Rodgers because they play completely different styles, and that will change the dynamic of the offense if Rodgers has
Yeah,
to sit
different
out for whatever
playbook. Yeah.
reason. But
But you got a good veteran quarterback at backup now, yeah.
yeah, but you have exactly. You have the good veteran quarterback at backup.
Okay, well, next up, James, we got the Baltimore Ravens. And so these guys fairly quiet on my side here. I think there's more on your end, to be honest, but they did bring in Derrick Henry, free agent signing. That was huge. He's still got a 93 on lineups. They tagged and then extended defensive lineman Justin Matabuki. That was a huge retention or retain or whatever you want to call it for them. And then they extended wide receiver Nelson Aguilar. I'm not as thrilled about that one, but he was kind of like a contributor for them. And so I'm more interested to hear about like the offensive line losses and whatever else there, James.
So, so the list I have for their key departures is running back Gus Edwards, guard John Simpson, safety Geno Stone, linebacker Patrick Queen, and long snapper Tyler Ott.
Okay. And then wasn't Morgan Moses from them traded to the Jets or no?
See, that doesn't have it on this list.
Okay. No, that's fine. It's fine. I just wanted to make sure he was coming from Baltimore because to me that means they're down two offensive linemen and you're bringing in Derrick Henry, who is
You to clarify, yes, he was on
Baltimore last year.
Baltimore.
Yeah. Or well, currently and got traded, but yeah. So it's like, I just don't like seeing a guy like Derrick Henry go into a situation where there's now potentially offensive line question marks, right?
Mhm.
Because this is a guy later in his career that, if anything, needs maybe a little bit stronger of an offensive line, not a weaker one. And I know that what he had in Tennessee was already kind of falling apart anyhow, but it sounds like he's going from one falling apart offensive line to another one that's starting to fall apart, which is a concern for me.
Yeah, but I don't think, if I remember, so Moses was kind of a journeyman, as it was.
Yeah, and then you got John Simpson's gone. He wasn't super highly rated. I get that, but they lost, what was it, like, who was the other guy they lost last year? I mean, the line was already going down.
Yeah. I hear you. I
I think
hear what you're
Zeitler
saying.
Zeitler was the year
Yeah, Zeitler
before,
was the year before.
Yeah.
It's just, see, the thing with Baltimore is you kind of gotta trust them. Like they're that Ozzie Newsome and then whoever it is, I forget the guy's name now.
Yeah, they're great at finding and developing talent, right?
Exactly. They're
And
great
so,
at
yeah,
finding and developing talent. They're good at drafting. Like they do an all around good job there.
well, and
So
that's kind of how you got to do it to be successful long term, right? Because that's where you're getting resources it more bang for the buck. If you're getting everybody out of free agency, you're paying tooth and nail and you're going to lose long term. So
Mhm.
I respect it. It just, at first glance on paper, it looks upside down, right?
Yeah, at first glance on paper, it looks upside down, but I I kind of Baltimore is the one team that I trust that they kind of know what they're doing there.
Trust the process. Trust the
Yeah.
process. Okay. All right. So, James, that takes us to the Cincinnati Bengals. And for the Bengals, I'm showing that they tagged wide receiver T. Higgins, which we talked about it earlier. He's asked for a trade. They brought in a few new guys: safety Geno Stone, formerly from Baltimore, tight end Mike Gesicki, formerly from the Patriots, and running back Zach Moss, formerly from the Indianapolis Colts. So I like that they're signing guys out of the AFC, bringing them
Mhm.
to their team. That's kind of a plus, right? Then they also re-signed linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither and offensive guard Cody Ford. Not earth-shattering, but tell me who they lost, my man.
So they lost Sion Takataki, linebacker Anthony Walker, and I think this one that's listed as a departure. No. So it threw me because you said Cody Ford.
Mm-hmm.
They lost Mike Ford,
Mm,
cornerback.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think all in all,
Wait a minute. I went to Cleveland. That's my fault.
yeah, I was gonna say when you said Taki Taki for a second, I thought that was
Yeah,
Cleveland,
I,
but I
I
thought
just wrote
maybe I missed
that
something.
one down. So they lost Joe Mixon, who
Oh
they
yeah,
traded
Mixon.
to Houston, cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, and tight end Irv Smith.
Yeah.
So Gesicki, I think, is an upgrade over Irv Smith.
Oh yeah, big time.
Um, Zach Moss, I like Mixon better than Moss, but Mixon was unhappy there.
Yeah, and he was, starting to have injury issues, getting a little bit longer in the tooth. Zach Moss, I feel like he acquitted himself well while Jonathan Taylor was hurt with the Colts, and so that could be a nice signing with some upside.
Yeah, I just I'm partial to Mixon. I hear what you're saying where he had injuries and
Yeah, he's hitting that running back wall, right? Which is why
Mhm.
Cincinnati was so easy to trade him away. But yeah. No, I think that these guys, in ways, are not as bad as what Buffalo's doing, but similar. I feel like they're going in the wrong direction. I do like some of these signings, but I don't see how any of this gets them over the top, man.
I don't see how any of it gets them over the top. Also with Cincinnati, like their window is like now. Like they have like
Yeah.
a year or two, and then like they're gonna have all these fucking contracts come due.
Oh,
And
this off-season start makes me think their window's already closing, unfortunately.
yeah, exactly. And well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like this
Yeah.
off season, but like their window prior to this was very short.
Yep. Yeah, and it's like, don't be fucking around with T. Higgins, man. Void your bunch of shit if you have to, because this could be it before it starts just to put you into team purgatory with Joe Burrow, which is such a waste of his talent if it happens,
Hmm.
man.
Hmm.
All right, so next up, now we got the Cleveland Browns. And so with the Browns, I'll just start off by saying they re-signed Zadarius Smith. I was kind of bummed. I was hoping the Lions would maybe get a crack at him. 84 rating on lineups. They traded for wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, which I like. It kind of, puts it into the no excuses for Deshaun Watson category. And then they signed linebacker Jordan Hicks. Aside from that, we're not as flashy. They re-signed tight end Adam Troutman. They brought in quarterback Jameis Winston. And that's it. Like from there, you're talking some 67 rated guys. So
Yeah. And then like I said earlier, when I didn't pay attention and skipped to Cleveland somehow on on my list. It was
Taki.
Sion Takitaki, Anthony Walker, and Mike Ford.
Yeah. So good that they brought in Jordan Hicks, but still probably down a little bit at linebacker.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe on defense going the wrong way, but not a ton. Offense,
Oh
they're
shit.
what's that?
Um.
Someone just signed?
Yeah.
Breaking news! Breaking news! Too bad we're
It's
not live.
yeah. No. No.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You just gotta say it. What is it, man?
You have them on the list. Okay. I still don't like it. I just
All right.
maybe it became official and it wasn't official before. Because I didn't. I do not have them list as. Oh, he's there. I hate that. Oh. Okay.
All right.
Anyways,
Yeah, tell
Cleveland.
me when.
I agree with what you said in Cleveland.
Yeah, I like that they're putting Watson in a corner, and I think that bringing back Zadarius Smith to keep that defensive line stout was the right move. Um, I mean, it's all going to be about what can Watson do for them, right? They're effed. It's
Mhm.
IBM. What can Watson do for you?
Which is not a whole lot, but like they're giving him like it's really becoming a put
Yeah.
up or shut up time for Watson.
Oh, for sure. Because yeah, they traded for what Elijah Moore last year. They've got Amari Cooper. He's going to have three solid wide receivers, plus Njoku at tight end, man. There's no excuses. And then they have running backs, right? I know that Chubb's probably not going to be there week one, but they had other running backs that came in and were able to carry the load. So it's all about Watson figuring out how to air it out now.
Yeah.
And the defense is going to be good. Maybe not as good as last year, but they're still going to be one of the top defenses. All right, so that takes us to the Pittsburgh Steelers. These guys, they're another one of these franchises that very quiet so far, but you probably got to trust the process with them. They brought in Patrick Queen at linebacker, which was a big gap for them last year. They made a trade for cornerback Dante Jackson, also kind of a gap for him this past year. And then it looks like they're going to be signing quarterback Russell Wilson, maybe to back up and or compete with Kenny Pickett. And so, who'd they lose there, man?
See, they haven't really lost that many key players either. Like we talked about it before. Mitchell Trubisky. They lost
Patrick Peterson.
tackle. I don't have Patrick Peterson on the list.
They cut him.
Yeah.
See,
They
it's all happening so fast that our lists are all a
yeah.
little outdated, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we're
They
piecing it together, man.
they lost right tackle Chukwuma Okafor.
Oh yeah.
Okorafor. The
But didn't they? What wasn't the guy they drafted last year? Is he playing right tackle going to be the replacement for that guy,
I
or
think
was
so. I'm
or
trying to
were the
remember.
plans for him to be left tackle? I don't remember how that worked out.
Yeah, I don't
I thought he was a
recall.
right tackle, but
I
who
thought he
was it?
was too. Oh, what was his name?
Was it Broderick Jones or man? I'm losing my mind here.
Uh,
It's not Broderick Jones. No, it is Broderick Jones. Um, I don't know. Of course, it just shows him as offensive tackle, right? So
yeah, right tackle. Broderick Jones at right
yeah,
tackle. Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle.
yeah. All right.
So and then they lost Deontay Johnson via trade.
Yep, that's important to point out, right?
So that was the Dante Jackson Deontay Johnson
Yes.
trade.
Yeah.
Say that
DJ,
5 times
DJ.
fast. Yeah.
And so to me, James, it's a bit quiet when you consider that they were a bad team last year. You
Hmm.
know, I mean,
And like also like it like Dante Jackson does nothing for them at quarterback. I'm reading the PFF coverage grade was 66.6, tied for
yeah.
71st out of 100 cornerbacks to play at least 100 snaps last year.
Well, they're hoping Joey Porter Jr. becomes the man, right? And now they
Yeah.
just need backups behind him. And so I don't know. I still would have probably kept Patrick Peterson and, had a few more guys in that cupboard, but this is what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
but
and,
like
and it's similar to Baltimore, right? You can't put it past them to find guys and figure out how to piece it together. Tomlin always finds a way to get to 500, but to me, for how much they struggled last year, there's nothing screaming at me saying that they're going to be significantly better.
yeah. No, I agree with you 100% on that. I I just like I see Pittsburgh as like that stable franchise that doesn't make big splashes, kind of some stuff
I know, but they
fly
could
under
have
the
had some line
radar.
drives and brought in a few more guys, man.
No, I hear you. I hear you, but
You're banking on development, is what you're telling me.
banking on development, and I think they have. I mean, Tomlin gets them to 500. That's a known, but at
Yeah,
some point
he'll
they're going to
coach
be.
the shit out of them, right? Yeah.
At some point they're going to um, lose patience with being 500.
Yeah. How many times do you think they're going to switch quarterbacks this year?
Mm,
Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, maybe a third guy because there's probably going to be a third guy, right?
probably right.
I mean, shit, they should have been the team to sign Jameis Winston. He would have been the perfect fucking third wheel in this quarterback mess.
Uh, yeah, uh, Russell. I think I think it's going to be Russell's show until he struggles, and then they're going to go to Pickett and kill Pickett,
So you
and
think Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback in week one?
probably.
All right, all right. I think it's Pickett. Russ is in there by week four, and Russ holds it for a while because he'll be smarter with the football and a little bit better pushing it down the field. But it's going to be just enough to have him be mediocre, maybe a little bit above average.
Hmm.
All right. Next up, James, we got the Houston Texans. These
Isn't
guys,
this one I got right too? Didn't I say Hunter was going there?
I don't remember. I think we were dreaming about it, maybe drooling about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
uh, but no, that's a sweet one. Yeah. So, you talked about it earlier. They traded for running back Joe Mixon. They
Hmm.
also signed Daniil Hunter at edge. They brought back tight end Dalton Schultz, cornerback Desmond King, kicker Kaimi Fairbairn, which, man, there were rumors that the Lions were going after him. I was so bummed we didn't get him. We need a kicker, you know this. They went out, they signed Danico Autry, Aziz El Shair at linebacker, Jeff Okuda and Mike Ford at cornerback, both of them. They brought back safety Eric Murray, and then they signed cornerback Lonnie Johnson. Tell me, my man, who did they lose?
So their key losses that, according to this article, Devin Singletary, Jonathan Greenard, Blake Cashman.
Yeah, so Singletary, you replaced him with Mixon. That's probably an
Mhm.
upgrade.
Probably an upgrade.
Greenard,
Uh,
you replaced him with Daniil Hunter. Massive upgrade.
massive upgrade.
And
And
then
Cashman, you replaced him with Aziz Al Shahir.
I would say that that's also an upgrade.
Exactly. This
So, yeah,
this Houston's becoming Houston out of the gate is probably going to be my favorite to win the AFC South, if
yeah,
not make it to the AFC Championship game,
yeah.
based on the season they had last year, and they didn't have this. They upgraded a lot of their positions that failed them a little bit, and I just like I can't wait to see that Will Anderson, Daniel
Oh my
Hunter
gosh, that's gonna
defensive line.
be
That's going to be fucking nuts.
potentially the best fucking 1-2 combo in the
Hmm.
NFL, man.
Yeah,
Um,
it's going to be what we hoped
yeah,
Montez Sweat Chase Young was going to be.
yeah, yeah. Man, I tell you what, I just from having gone through this earlier, in my opinion, Houston is winning the offseason so far.
Yeah,
And it's not even
by
close.
far,
It's
by
not
far
even
winning the
close.
offseason so
Yeah,
far.
yeah. Which I'm super pumped about, right? I like their coach. I like their quarterback. I'm glad that it's working for them. And man, I hope they stay healthy and they just fucking tear up the AFC.
Hmm.
All right, so next up we got the Indianapolis Colts. And so these guys, let's see, they tagged and have since signed to a long-term deal wide receiver Michael Pittman. They brought back defensive tackle Grover Stewart, cornerback Kenny Moore, punter Rigoberto Sanchez, and edge Tyquan Lewis. So
And
there's
Zaire linebacker Zaire Franklin.
okay, thank you. And who else? Who did they lose?
They lost the stash,
Yeah,
Zach
Minshew.
Moss,
Yes.
yeah, Gardner Minshew, Zach Moss, and wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie.
Okay.
So Zach Moss was really depth. You're going to need depth at running back. They had another guy too last year that played decent. I'm drawing a blank on his name though.
Aside from Jonathan Taylor, you're saying?
Yeah, aside from Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, if Jonathan Taylor stays healthy, they'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's just depth at running back.
Yeah.
That they lost there. I guess maybe they didn't. Maybe I'm thinking of another team. Yeah, no. It was Moss and Jonathan Taylor. But like you said, Jonathan Taylor is or like as long as he's healthy, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Wide. Oh, we forgot because it happened since then. They signed quarterback Joe Flacco.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, have a little backup. I'm not sure how that fits with
With
Anthony
Richardson and
Richardson and that playbook and scheme and whatever, but hey, whatever, it works.
well, the real hope is Richardson doesn't get hurt again, and
Correct.
um, so at wide receiver they really need a slot guy. They have Pittman and Alec Pierce that they're 1-2, and they really need the slot guy because right now they have Josh Downs.
Yeah, or they need to get some tight ends because they got a
Yeah.
mobile Lamar Jackson like quarterback, right?
Their tight ends are kind of weak, but also though we've talked about it multiple times last week, the wide receiver class this year is stacked.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. There's some gems to be found, right?
Hmm.
With Indy, I can respect them keeping their own guys, which is what they're doing here. But to me, you got to sprinkle in a little bit of fresh meat, right? Because you do
Hmm.
have a head coach that's going into his second year. You want to give that guy some of his own guys, put his own fingerprints on this team, and they've not done enough of that yet. And so I wanted to see more of that out of Indianapolis, man.
I agree with you. I wanted to see a little bit more with Indy, and they re-signed their guys, but they didn't make. Also, though, to be fair with Indy, before Richardson went down, they were on the trajectory of winning the division.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see.
All right, next up we got the Jaguars. And so their big move was tagging edge guy Josh Allen, 92 overall on lineups. They did bring in a slew of free agents, wide receiver Gabe Davis, center Mitch Morse, wide receiver Devin Duvernay, safety Darnell Savage, and cornerback Ronald Darby. They also re-signed guard Ezra Cleveland, running back Dearness Johnson. For whatever fucking reason they made a trade for Mac Jones. Who'd they lose, my man?
So this only lists kicker Brandon McManus,
Yeah, not the end of the
and
world.
cornerback Darius Williams.
Yeah, I think they're going to miss him a little bit, but Darby mitigates that.
Mm-hmm.
And then really, I guess considering that overall, I think they're doing pretty good, right? And I do like that they beefed up the offensive line a little bit because
Mm-hmm.
that was an issue for them last year. Um, some of these signings are not lighting the world on fire, but I think Gabe Davis is going to be impactful. I think Mitch Morse is going to be impactful. I think Darnell Savage and Darby are going to be impactful. To me, this is like it's like kind of like their way of like going all not all in, but like they know that they got to get back in the playoffs or people getting fired, right? And this is probably
Yeah.
the best they could be doing when you see what other teams have done as well.
So let's take out the Mitch Trubisky trade. I'll address that in a second.
Sure.
Um, with Jacksonville, I really actually like what they're doing. The couple of the
You're
first of
talking
all,
The Mac Jones trade.
what did I say?
Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, whatever. I have Trubisky on my
I'd probably
line.
rather have Trubisky.
Another another failed first
Yeah.
round quarterback pick that's going to latch on his backup. So up front, they've addressed their needs by getting center Mitch Morris, which will help with the blocking. Gabe Davis will be that piece that was missing in the
Yeah.
red zone for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
That
Calvin
bigger
Ridley's
size.
gone, but that's okay. They
Yeah.
got Gabe Davis.
Darnell Savage is will take the place of Jenkins. He's younger. He's a younger player that will take that place. And then to Mac Jones. Last year, the season kind of went off the rails with the Trevor Lawrence injury, and that was the big key for them. And then why they didn't make it back. One of the reasons they didn't make it back to the playoffs last year was because with Trubisky. Why do I have Trubisky on my mind? Lawrence was injured, and part of the injuries were because of the poor blocking up front.
Sure.
So Mac Jones can possibly hold it together if Mac Jones can hold it together if Lawrence has to miss a game or two, then
Yeah, and he knows he's got to work his way back now, right? You know, he's going
yeah,
to have a tight leash. If he gets any playing time, he can't fuck around.
exactly. He like if he gets any play time, he has to get it done.
All right, let's move on to the Tennessee Titans. These guys, uh, they have not been very active with bringing back their own people,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is fine because they're overhauling the roster. They've got a new coach. They're going in a new direction. They have signed running back Tony Pollard, cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, however you say his name, wide receiver Calvin Ridley. Those are the three solid ones. Then they also brought in center
That's
Lloyd Cushenberry.
4 solid ones because I love the Cushenberry signing there.
Okay. And linebacker Kenneth Moore, I like him too. All the other three were 85 plus. That's all I'm getting at. But
Well,
I
what
think
is
that's
Cushenberry?
a respectable group of signings. But tell me who they lost, man. Obviously, we know Derrick Henry. Who else?
All right. So first of
Ryan
all,
Tannehill.
Cushenberry's rated only at a 78. What the fuck?
Yeah, but that's pretty good for a center, right? A lot of centers are kind of like lower rated guys
Yeah.
usually.
All right. So they lost center Aaron Brewer. Cushenberry is a natural replacement, might even be a slight upgrade there. They lost defensive lineman Danico Autry.
Yeah, that one
They,
hurts.
they lost linebacker Aziz Al-Shahir.
That hurts, but Kenneth Murray helps a little
Kenneth
bit.
Murray helps. They lost Sean Murphy Bunting.
That one hurts, but Awuzie helps.
Exactly.
Awuzie is probably an upgrade.
Woujier is probably an upgrade, yeah. And they lost running back Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and Pollard, they're just getting younger at the position, is what
They're
they're
getting
doing.
younger at the position, but they have to have a 1-2 punch with Pollard. Pollard is not a lead back. I like Pollard. I think he's uber talented, but as we saw last year, he's not the lead. He's not comfortable in the lead back position. He might grow into it, and we thought he would, but he struggled last year in that role in Kansas City, in Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, that takes us to the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. We've got these guys. I mean, they're stuck in salary cap hell after the Russell
Mm-hmm.
Wilson situation, but they did bring in safety Brandon Jones. They re-signed kicker Will Lutz. I don't know why fucking Sean Payton loves him so much. They
Mm-hmm.
did sign Malcolm Roach, and then they retained fullback Michael Burton and safety PJ Locke. Who did they lose other than Russ, man?
Okay, besides Russ, they lost Justin Simmons, Jerry Jeudy, Lloyd Cushenberry, and linebacker Josie Jewell.
Yeah, they're going way the wrong way.
So this is what we were talking about last week. Was it last week we were talking about how Denver is going through they're going through a rebuild.
Yeah, did Sean
And
Payton really want to sign up for this? Yeah.
They're shedding basically any salary they can to go through that rebuild. I like the fact that they traded Judy. They traded they released Simmons, released Russ, traded Judy. Couldn't re-sign Cushenberry, but
Yeah, Judy wasn't getting it done for him anyhow, so I'm not
exactly.
worried about that. But I did like Josie Jewell. He was a blue-collar, hard-working linebacker. He's a guy I thought they could have kept at a reasonable price. It just, man, they're
So
they're in trouble, man.
so this article grades the moves based on their key re-signings, key additions, key
Sure.
departures. The Broncos are one of the teams that they gave an F to.
Yeah, a mandatory F.
Yeah. And that's about the best way to sum up what's going on with Denver right now.
All right. Well, let's go to fake cap world and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs here for a minute, James. So these guys somehow, some way, fake cap, miraculous, whatever, re-signed defensive lineman Chris Jones.
To a ridiculous contract.
Yeah, and on top of that, they tagged cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, and then they were able to retain linebacker Drew Tranquil. Aside from that, not as exciting. They brought in tight end Irv Smith Jr. Um, and then they did sign punter Matt Araiza. I don't think that's breaking the bank or anything, but who did they lose, James?
So first of all, let's go to the Jones contract.
Yeah.
A 5-year, $95.3 million in guarantees, $31 million in roster bonuses, and $30 million signing bonus. It's ridiculous. He's worth it though for that team and what he does for that defense.
Well,
so it was a 5-year deal totaling.
He is, but it's like, how do you fit it all in? You got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got some high paid offensive linemen. I mean, it's like, dude, where are they getting the money for these guys? I know they hit some gems in the draft the last couple of years, and that helps, but man.
Yeah, so $60 million fully guaranteed at signing, the $30 million signing bonus, and then he has prorated over the $30 million signing bonus, which is $6 million cap hit per year. He base salary in 2024 of $1.3 million.
Yeah. I mean, here, let me just
13.7 and 2025 roster bonus of 15.
Yeah, I mean, so who did they lose? Let me ask you that, and then let me ask you a bonus question.
Okay. So who did they lose? They didn't lose that much.
Go figure, right?
They lost offensive lineman Nick Allegretti and linebacker Willie Gay Jr.
Yeah, Willie Gay Jr. was a player, but they can backfill him no problem. So here's the bonus question: if they win the next Super Bowl, do people start getting sick of watching the Chiefs win?
People are already sick of watching the Chiefs win.
I just don't see how they do it, man.
On sports talk radio, all I heard was, I can't watch Kansas City win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean they're very clearly primed to do it.
Hmm.
They're probably more primed to do it this year than they were last year.
Exactly.
All right, that takes us to the Raiders. I love what the Raiders did with their big move. They brought in defensive tackle Christian Wilkins,
Hmm.
pairing him with Mason Crosby. That's going to be fucking sweet. Aside from that, they re-signed their center Andre James. They brought in quarterback Gardner Minshew, and they re-signed backup running back Amir Abdullah. Who did they lose, man?
So besides the Garoppolo waiving or releasing Garoppolo, they lost Josh Jacobs, offensive lineman Jermaine
Elamore.
Elumo, yeah, however you just said it, and cornerback Amik Robertson.
Yeah, went to the Lions. Gotcha. Yeah, so
Also,
oh, yeah,
also with them, I'm hearing lots of rumors, which tells me that they're really down on Aiden O'Connell.
yeah. Where there's smoke, there could be fire.
I'm hearing a lot of rumors that they were um, looking to be the trade partner with Chicago for Justin Fields.
Okay. Yeah, which would probably put Fields one, Minshew two, O'Connell three. O'Connell
Yeah.
probably gets dropped to the practice squad, and who knows what happens from there. So, or he's the reserve three, whatever it is now. So, um, yeah, I think Wilkins is huge. I know they paid a premium to get him, but I like that they're stacking that defensive line. That on its own makes this a win, but there's not much else to get excited about.
Hmm. And there's a lot of work that has to be done with Vegas. Did you? I didn't hear you mention that they retained Amir Abdullah. Did
Oh,
you
I
say
did
that?
say that. I did say that.
Okay. I just
Former
didn't.
Detroit Lion, backup running back, special teamer.
I just didn't
And
hear
I
that.
do like that. Amir Abdullah is one of those guys that, what was he, a second round pick or whatever for the Lions? Never lived up to the expectations, but he has gone out with the Raiders and he's done anything and everything they've asked him to do. And he every year earns that roster spot. And so I've
Hmm.
got a lot of respect for the guy finding a way to have this kind of longevity in the NFL, especially at the running back position.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there.
All right, so we got the Chargers next. This is the last team in the AFC here, James. They brought in Gus Edwards. Wow, earth-shattering at running back. Tight end Will Disley. Ow! And they re-signed their safety, Alohi Gilman. And
Hmm.
so, why
They
exactly
lost.
did Jim Harbaugh want this job? Yeah, tell me
They
who they
lost
lost, man.
Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, linebacker Kenneth Murray, and up in the air, but they have not signed him yet, Gerald Everett. So I think
No,
this,
Gerald Everett's gone. He signed.
because this the article I have has it as if Gerald Everett is not re-signed. So I missed
He
the
signed with Chicago,
Everett signing. Well, there you go. So they
which I
lost Gerald
liked him,
Everett.
but yeah.
So I think Disley and Everett are very similar players. I think Disley is younger, which could have a little bit of upside
Herbert
for
in the
them,
passing game. Yeah.
for Herbert in the passing game. Um, Edwards, compared to last year, Edwards is not that much of a downgrade from Austin Eckler compared to previous years. Yes, but last
Yeah.
year, no.
Well, yeah, and
And
they've got. I'm
uh,
trying to think. They drafted a guy like a year or two ago that was starting to kind of come up a little bit, and
I
so
know you're talking about
yeah,
it
so
was
they're either hoping that they're going to get something
Jackson.
more, or they're going to draft somebody or whatever. But they've made it clear they're going to do something at running back, right? They keep talking about it.
So right now, their depth chart at running back has lists Gus Edwards, Isaiah Spiller, Elijah Dotson,
I
and
think
Garrett
Spiller's the guy I'm
Jefferson.
thinking of.
Let me take a look. Spiller is a 2022 fourth round pick. He has total in last year he had 96 yards. It was
Yeah.
not Spiller.
So Nah, probably not.
Uh,
That's
is
okay.
it not Dotson? I don't know who it is. Maybe the guy's no longer there.
Well, they're just going to ground and pound with Gus Edwards and probably draft a guy. Maybe they're going to go and get what's his face from Michigan, the running back.
I I don't want. I don't think Harbaugh knows how to evaluate NFL talent. Just saying.
Yeah, he needs a good GM.
I
He
think when you,
inherited a great roster when he was with the 49ers. I'm just going to say that.
yeah, he had a great roster and cut lightning in a bottle with them. Um, their wide receiver core leaves a lot to be desired with Mike Williams no longer being there.
Yeah,
'Cause they,
Keenan Allen always has the mysterious injuries every week. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play?
yeah,
And now Gerald Everett's gone. So they got to draft some guys. I mean, hey, they did draft a wide receiver early last year. Maybe they're expecting him to rise up a little bit, but still, come on, you got to get some guys.
Quentin Johnson?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right, so
sorry,
that
Quentin
takes us
Johnston.
Johnston with the T, yes. So that takes
It was
us
only
through.
targeted 67 times last year.
Yeah, no, they. He's going to get a big bump in that workload.
Mm.
All right, James, that gets us through the AFC. I feel like you're getting a little fatigued here, man. You want to power through the NFC? How do you want to do this?
I say let's do NFC next week and hit
Okay.
anything else any new moves
And catch
or
up
new
on the
signings.
AFC for whatever's new?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. I think we might have done that in one of the past years because these definitely go a lot longer than you might think.
Yeah. As as you're right, I'm starting to like fade on it and
Yeah, we're almost
you
an
can
hour and a half in. I don't want to hold you up for 2.5 hours tonight, man. You got
yeah,
a wife and
and
kids.
you can really tell when I'm fatiguing when I start rambling about random shit.
See, you're fatiguing, and I'm getting all wound up. Like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. I'm going all night. All
Yeah,
right.
but you actually sleep at night where I
Oh,
fucking get like an hour.
oh, I sleep at night. Yes. Little do you know. I mean, hey, I sleep occasionally, but all right. Well, let's do our question of the week. So we're gonna hit a little bit on the Lions, right?
Hmm.
And so, I mean, the question of the week was related to the Lions. I got to hit on it a little bit, but I'm going to focus just on one aspect. They brought in Carlton Davis via trade with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They gave up a third round pick for him. And
But they also
so
get a 6 round pick back.
I think two 6 round picks back
Yeah,
actually, which
you might be
definitely
right.
helps.
You might be right. But yeah, it was they really traded 2 6 round picks for a third round pick, and Carlton Davis was thrown in.
Yeah, okay. If that's how your value chart works, um, that's fine. But I just want your opinion on whether you think that that was a good enough move for the Lions because that's been their big move, right? And so,
No, you're missing a move on the list, and I'm not sure how I feel about the move, but I think it's the reuniting the player with the
who the heck
defensive
am I missing?
coach, Marcus Davenport.
Oh, no, no, that's not a big move, dude. He's a depth play. He's
Hear me,
not going to
hear me,
be.
hear me out. He had good seasons. Yeah, he's rated a 72 currently on lineups.
Yeah, and he's hurt all the time.
Just hear me out. He played 1,024 snaps in 2020. 23 tackles, 13 solo, 8 QB hits, 2 passes deflected. I think coaching staff
Yeah,
means
they know
something to
him.
certain defensive
Yeah.
players, and they will know how to use him. I don't like the amount of money they're giving him, but another story.
All right, all right. Well, let me
All right,
bring you back
but
to the Carlton Davis thing.
Carlton Davis, you go with what you were going to say on it.
Sure. Yeah, and yeah, I'll just tell you, at first, I didn't like the trade, right? Because if you go back 3, 4 years ago, he was the CB1 for Tampa Bay, right? And they
Mhm.
signed him to that extension, gave him 50 million bucks, whatever the heck it was. But then every year he started to lose his place to Jamel Dean, who is the cornerback they kept instead of him. And he's been hurt every year. The last 3 years, he's missed at least 4 games. Then when I look at what we're getting, I get it. On lineups, he's rated 84. That's solid. But the dude's missed a lot of time. He's only got 1 year left on the contract, and it's at 14 million bucks. To
I thought
me,
they, I thought that, no, I thought they extended him.
okay, well, that's where I was about to go with this. Is that to me, that on the surface seems a bit steep and a bit rough.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I dug into it, I started to think the third round pick probably indicates that Brad Holmes wants to sign him longer. And I'm okay with that because he's young enough. The injuries are a concern, but injuries are very unpredictable. Uh, a lot of people talk about how well he excelled at man coverage, albeit he only played it 14% of the time. Detroit runs it more than most teams. And so if we can maybe get more of that out of him, maybe that's a good thing. But when you retool the defensive secondary, this pushes Cam Sutton to a CB2. It makes Emmanuel Mosley kind of like a wild card for us at cornerback. I like it, dude. I think that all that, like, in my mind, logically kind of like stacks up and makes sense. And so I'm encouraged. I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid. And it's kind of like what you're saying with Baltimore, we talked about earlier. Some of these teams, you got to trust the process. I'm trusting Brad Holmes and I'm trusting this process. The dude has been a rock star so far. What do you think, my man?
So on the surface, I didn't really like it until I delved into it because the initial thing I saw was you got Carlton Davis gave up a third round pick. But then when you also tack on the 2 6-round picks, correct, you were correct, to that, it's more like he was an add-on than the picks were an add-on.
Sure. Yeah, and
Also,
it could be, right? Because Tampa Bay, they've been hurting for salary cap space.
mhm. And also an interesting note in the trade reporting that I have found is and this one is the only one, the first one I've seen to say this. Additional trade terms were not disclosed.
Oh, okay. So there could be some conditional picks or other things coming, maybe.
There could be something else that's right. That's not disclosed. Maybe, and
Maybe, oh,
this
he
was
misses more than 5 games and one of the six turns into a fifth or whatever.
yeah, exactly. There could be something there. So he's played 76 games in his career. He has had 75 starts. He's going into his 7th season. Um, so he's averaged 11 games a season, which isn't that bad. Just under 11 games a season. He has a total of 320 tackles, 73 pass defenses, one a year, nothing to write home about. 12 tackles for a loss, 9 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 QB hit. With all that said, I still don't like the trade.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, and I don't know what the additional terms, if I knew the additional terms, that might flip it, but you're right. He's been injured. He's on average missing 5 to 6 games a season
Yeah,
with
and it's
injury.
okay to be skeptical, right?
Yeah. I think I will agree with you that Brad Holmes has had a little bit of grace. It gets a little bit of grace because everything he's turned, he's had that Midas touch.
But it would have been different if they went out and signed like Daniil Hunter, right? Then it would have been like, oh, Carlton Davis, big deal. We got a freaking stud edge to go with Hutchinson. But because this is the big move of the offseason, I think everybody's trying to poke him in the eye like, come on, dude, what are you thinking?
But the one thing, and this is all. So in 2020, Bruce Arians called him a top 10 quarterback. One of the top quarterbacks, Jamar Chase called Davis the best corner he's ever gone up against.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, hindsight's always 2020. I would like the deal. I like the fact that they did shore him up for, what was it, a 3-year contract?
So they did extend him, you're saying?
Yeah, I think they extended him for 3 years.
Yeah, so Brad Holmes really likes him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he gave up a third-round pick for him.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it right offhand, but I thought I had saw that they extended him. And it's a late third-round pick, too. It's a really late third-round pick.
Yeah. Hey, that's cool, man. That's cool. All right, so, we got our opinions out there in the world. And maybe we'll get somebody to answer question of the week.
So now I'm really questioning if they extended him, because
Yeah, I'm not seeing it yet, but who knows? Who knows? I would bet that they're going to try to if they gave up a third-round pick for him. Unless the other part of the deal is that if he misses a certain amount of time, we get a bump in the picks.
Yeah, I thought I had read that, but I'm not finding it.
It's all right. No worries.
Okay. So maybe I'm wrong, and they didn't
Yet.
yet.
That's okay. That's all I had for question of the week. Did you have any closing thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, yada, yada, yada?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right. Well, for anybody who's watching, we hope you liked the show. If you didn't, I don't really care. James, you probably don't either.
Not really.
But please, please hit the subscribe button. And that's all I got. I'll catch you later, James.
All right.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.